So you want to lose weight? I can help with that. Hey, I'm Alfie. So, for context, I have recently been finishing up a diet that's taken me from about 100 kilograms, which is about 200 pounds, all the way down to about 59 kilograms. I went from sedentary, I'm pretty active these days. I went from basically no muscle to, I don't know, I'm not big, but I have muscle. And so I've been through the whole gamut. And around here, we're approaching weight loss from the sense that you've got 20, 30, 40 years of unhealthy experiences, unhealthy attachments, and bad preferences for food. I say bad, very normal preferences that can mean that you're approaching things from a way that other people can't help you with. So for the first stage of a diet, stage one as we're calling it around here, we're going to primarily focus on learning what we do, what we like, and what we want. We're going to focus on learning habits. We're going to look for easy wins. So the first thing you should probably learn is how a diet works. A diet works by very simply calories in, calories out. If you input more than you output, then you will store it as fat. And if you output more than you input, then you will lose fat. Now, what is a calorie? Everything you eat, as it gets digested, gives your body energy. We measure that in calories. Every time you move, everything you do, from breathing to thinking to doing the chores around the house to doing actual exercise, is calories out. What we need to do is manage what we take in and what we take out. So in terms of what we take in, it can be split into generally 4 macronutrients of carbohydrates, which generally give you energy, things like donuts, pastries, fries, potatoes, things like that. Carbohydrates are generally the thing we're going to dial back naturally as we diet, but I'm not going to tell you to aim for that. You should never cut out a food group. But the thing is, carbohydrates tend to be quite a big bulk of the average person's diet, and they provide quite a lot of the calories. That's just how things are going to work out. But I'm not saying to target them or cut them out at all. Protein is what we use to build muscle, maintain quite a lot around our body, and basically all the fleshy parts of our body have quite a lot of protein in them, and that's from what we eat. You have fats, which are used quite a bit in hormone production. They tend to have more calories than carbohydrates, but they're just generally not in our food as much as carbohydrates tend to be. And then you have vitamins and minerals, which are all over the place. They do loads of things. I'm not going to go into those here. I probably couldn't, to be honest. So what do we mean by calories out? In terms of calories out, you have your BMR, which is basically you and your body living day to day. Breathing, thinking, your lungs breathing in, all of that. Then you have your NEAT, your non-exercise activated thermogenesis. Basically, as you do chores, walk around, fidget in your chair, as you bump your leg up and down, that's all burning calories. And then you have your cardio, which is your exercise, which is burning quite a lot more. Those are our 2 levers, what we eat and what we do. But there is a bit of a weird mess of wires between the second lever, what we do, and what we weigh. The heavier you weigh, the more moving around outputs calories. So as you go down in a diet, generally things are going to slow down until you either change more calories out or more calories in, or less calories in, because your weight is now lower. So you need to output more intentionally because you're outputting less ambiently. If that makes sense? About 3,500 calories is a pound. So subtracting 3,500 calories across a week will result in about a pound of weight loss. Now, as you first start a diet, it's going to look a lot more exciting than that. But that's because our body holds water in various ways. And as we diet, generally, that water's going to shed. That's completely normal. Don't psych yourself out and don't think you're Superman because you've lost the first 4 kilograms very, very quickly. Now, what do we mean in terms of how should we keep our unhealthy preferences generally pretty happy? If you graze through the day, and that's quite important to you, that ritual of you seeing a snack, maybe nuts, and you eat it, then that's something we keep. If you, in the morning before work, you like to sit down with a coffee from Starbucks, one with loads of whipped cream and shit, keep it. But what we're looking for is the easy wins. And to do that, you're going to have to occasionally pick up what you're eating and analyze, like, what are the calories in this? And over time, you'll notice things. So for instance, the easiest win most people go for is sugar-free drinks. Coke Zero is a very good one. It tastes not the same as Coke, as like people like to say, but if it's been in the fridge, it's good enough. If most people who drink full-fat sugar fizzy pop took all of it out of their diet, they could probably coast on that for their diet for quite a long while. In fact, let me just recommend one. So in terms of sugar-free drinks and low-calorie drinks, there's a lot of good ones out there, but there's a lot of exploring and you find out this drink tastes like shit. That's happened a lot with me. One I'd like to recommend is G Fuel. It has quite a lot of caffeine in it, but it's quite low calorie and you actually get a full flavor in your drink. Or they have a competitor called Gamer Sups, which I've been interested in recently, but their marketing is very hard to recommend. So if you're interested, give those a shout. Or for instance, you might analyze what's actually in your food and realize that some things just aren't worth it, and that's an easy win right there. The bread in most sandwiches is not really that important. It's kind of just there to get the middle bit in your mouth, and yet the calories from the bread will be quite a big portion of the calories of the sandwich. So for me, I generally just don't eat them anymore. So they're easy wins, and you're gonna have to go through your life sort of paying attention to what you do and what you actually like. You're gonna have to learn to explore. If you're not particularly adventurous with your food, if you're very, very stuck in your ways and won't try new things, then losing weight is going to be more difficult. Purely simply because the only lever you can then do on what you input is kind of missing. So the only part you can change is really the size of your meal. And then we have to analyze what we actually do want to keep for as long as possible. Just because something's a lot of calories doesn't mean you should take it out. If you like a donut or a dessert after food, keep it. We're just looking for easy wins. Another one, very simply, if you are bad at chores, getting on top of those will burn more calories. It's very simple. If you take the lift everywhere, if you take the car everywhere, building in more exercise through your day will take out loads. But I'm not going to focus on that. There is two ways of exercising that we're going to focus on. Cardio. For the first stage, we're not going to push that lever very hard. We're not going to try and output tons and tons and tons of calories. Like if you've ever had an arc where you've tried high intensity interval training, or doing some crazy ab workout, or trying to do couch to 5k and then you burn out. We're not aiming for that. What I want you to do is set a route around your house or around your work, or something you could do after work that is very easy to do, as in don't have to travel there. And what we want to do is set a minimum. Your minimum is up to you. But we're aiming for 5-10 minutes, something you can do on a day when your ex has texted you, your manager shouted at you, a client's called you a name, and you're basically feeling like shit. We want something that even on those days, you're quite likely to do, which is very short. And I want you to try and keep yourself to that minimum. Now, if you want to increase that, for the early stages of a diet, I would say no. If you're going to put in that extra effort, don't leave the house thinking you're going to do so. Do so when you're out there. If you get to a right turn and you're like, you know what, I feel good today, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that right turn and it's going to add 5 or 10 minutes extra. Then you go for it. I'm not going to say not exercise. I'm trying to say don't build in a new standard which you're then going to struggle to keep. But the exercise we are going to try and push, the level we are going to try and push in terms of exercise, is muscle. I want you to get some dumbbells. I would prefer you to go to a gym. I heavily recommend it. If you're a man or a woman, if you're old or young, it's good for you. If you're a woman and you've got bad back, chances are it's going to help you. If you're older, having muscle is the difference between going into your 60s and 70s, relatively the same as your 40s and 50s, just like things are starting to get a bit achy and painy, and going into your 60s and 70s frail as fuck, you can barely hold yourself upright and you're really, really struggling. Muscle's super important for life. In general society, it's very easy to come away with the idea that muscle is for looking big, and other than that, just kind of there. No, it's super important, and it's something you should be training. You don't have to aim for the stars with it, but you should be training. And it should be relatively intense. You don't have to push yourself to crazy degrees, but you should be trying to get stronger. You shouldn't be trying to take the easy route out. Another reason why we're doing this is because muscle tends to burn more calories ambiently. It might technically slow down your rate of weight loss, but at the same time, by replacing bad weight, fat, with good weight, muscle, that's also a bit smaller, so you're still going to shrink a bit. We are intentionally trying to keep our calories higher, because the more you weigh, the more calories you're going to output naturally, no matter what. Another reason we're going to be focusing on muscle is because it's relatively rewardless, losing weight. If you're coming from a bigger place, especially if you're sedentary, you see, if you have 100 pounds or 100 kilograms of fat, if you lose 5 pounds, it's going to struggle to notice. Okay, if as you go down, you kind of got to trust your scales are telling you the right thing. Every so often, you'll look at yourself and be like, that's different. As you lose more, every pound is noticed more. But muscle, however, those first 6 to 8 weeks that you're training in the gym will be the 6 to 8 weeks you build the most muscle. It's kind of crazy, and they'll give you some very early, easy wins that you will appreciate. You see, we're trying to keep ourselves happy, and we're trying to give ourselves reward and keep this going. And so having something that we can easily identify as progress is good. For all three things, for the food side, the cardio side, and the muscle side, I want you to try and be consistent. See, we're trying, one of the key parts of the first stage is building your habits. And for building habits, consistency is king. If you're training your muscles and one day you're not feeling it, do you know what the best thing to do is? Go to the gym and fuck around for an hour. As in, lift the lightest weights, or even just sit down on your phone or have cigarettes outside. Who cares? It's so much better to do that than to stay at home and have the day off, because then that turns into the second day, and then that turns into a third day. The same for cardio. We're treating what we set as our standard as a minimum. That is your minimum. If you ever do more, great. But for now, we're treating that as a minimum every day. That's why we're trying to keep our number low, and we're trying to start from somewhere that's easy to get to. And the same with food. Now, if you fuck up with food, say McDonald's or Burger King has a new pistachio and maple syrup flavored McFlurry or whatever, and you really want to try it, that's fine, who cares? But the thing with weight loss is consistency is still king. I could 100% outdo a month of dieting within 5 minutes. In fact, I can fucking show you if I really want to do. It's very easy. 3,500 calories to lose a pound may sound like a lot. If you're aiming for that, one good dessert will take off half of that, easy peasy. So we're looking for consistency. But if you do fuck up, don't blame yourself. Just treat it as a reason to either lighten, add some more food so you're a bit more happy with your diet, or for the exercise, again, lighten, as in don't go quite so hard, but make sure you're keeping it consistent. Someone who goes to the gym for 10 years and is lifting difficult, but not crazy difficult weights, will turn out to be closer to their bodybuilding Arnold Schwarzenegger dream than someone who went for 5 days and lifted their little heart out and then quit. Consistency is super important. In terms of that, find ways and think to yourself, how can I make sure not me, you will keep this in your mind, whether that's rewards. This is the first stage of the diet. But if you want a reward after the gym, as long as it's something reasonable, like a banana or banana's very boring. You pick it, something exciting. Then you go ahead. It doesn't matter. As long as you're keeping yourself going, that's more important than even sticking to the diet part. It really is. I like, for instance, to immerse myself in the culture. So I watch loads of fucking gym videos, follow loads of bodybuilders, follow loads of fitness people. I realize most of them are very good, but they're very flawed. I'll speak about this more in another video, but be careful if you choose to do something similar, because a lot of these people their job is to produce content every day, which means they talk about a lot of the same stuff every day. Fiber, for instance, is very good and very important for your body, but there are sections of like fitness YouTube where it's the most important thing, and it's just not true. Just because someone talks about something a lot doesn't mean it's important. Chances are it's just because it's their job. that's basically it. Now, I'm sorry if this is anticlimactic, but these easy wins can get you super, super far. What you need to do is analyze what you want. If you start taking things away that you don't like, or following a cookie cutter diet like keto or carnivore, then you're going to struggle. And to be clear, my diet, for instance, I might as well talk about it. I analysed myself, I learned what I actually like. And so in the week, I'm very easy to be super disciplined. I could basically fast if I wanted to and not eat. I don't do that because it'd be super fucking unhealthy, because that would be a bit too far. But something small, I'm happy with. And on the weekends, I tend to have a blowout. And that's continued even down to quite skinny levels. On the weekend, for instance, I have a KFC, and it's not just, oh, here's a burger and chips. Oh, it's here's a burger, here's a chips, here's a side, here's a side, here's a side. You know, I like to eat. I like food. And that's why you shouldn't blame yourself if you fuck up. We wouldn't be here. None of us would be here if food wasn't fucking tasty. Alright, it's completely understandable. And then on a Saturday, I would have kebabs. And on a Sunday, I don't know if they have this in other countries, but I had a carvery, basically a roast buffet. And I would not skimp on myself. I would eat a lot. Right, so you can go crazy, kind of, with the calories, in the sense that as long as it's understood of what you're doing. So I did go crazy with the carveries because I learned vegetables that I liked. I did go crazy with the KFC because I learned the calories of each menu item. I built an order that I actually fucking like. So that's what I mean. You have to build what you like and pay attention to your bad habits too. If you, for instance, buy yourself a little reward for the week and it's gone by Tuesday, perhaps those rewards shouldn't be bought. If you have kids or something and you're going to have to get used to eating 2 meals instead of 1, that's going to be a struggle. Perhaps you need to find a way to compromise on that. Or if you have a support network that's a bit too good, people might be offering you food and you've kind of got to learn to say no. And for a lot of people, that's going to be the hardest part of it. Also, trusting your numbers. People, if they're used to you being fat, you could lose 5 or 10 kilos and have a good 50 more to go. And people might start telling you you're too skinny, and you kind of got to trust yourself that you know what you're doing and you know what your goal is. And yeah, that's stage 1. It's just easy wins and learning and sort of getting into the groove of making a better choice every day. And I make it out like it's easy, but getting into that groove is going to be difficult. You're going to have to start paying attention to your weight, which can be depressing. You're going to have to focus on your body in ways that you really shouldn't be attached to. You should be trying to approach this from a relatively detached place. And the exercise, for a lot of people, that minimum is going to start off pretty difficult. They might go too hard, or just keeping to it every day is going to be difficult. The muscle building, it should be difficult if you want to build muscle, unfortunately. I'm making it out like it's easy, but that's why we're trying to keep ourselves happy, so we can approach it from a happier place. You see, the easiest way to predict what someone's going to do on any given day is what they did that same day last week. And the easiest way to predict what the differences are, they're less likely to do the things they didn't like last week and more likely to do the things they did. We're not crazy complex creatures in some ways. We are relatively predictable, unfortunately for us. And unfortunately for us, people who are bigger, the easiest way to predict if someone's gonna like something is if they're good at it. So what I'm trying to say is, to get bigger, chances are maybe you didn't like exercise, and maybe that's because you were bigger, but it doesn't really matter because you didn't like it, so you didn't do it as much. Therefore you got fatter, and therefore you didn't do it as much, and it all snowballs. We're quite predictable is what I'm trying to say. So if we are, then it's good to work with that predictability to try and get ourselves to our goals. Now, that's the first stage. There's a lot of information there. Hopefully I can see you in the second stage, and in the second stage, you know you're getting to there when things are slowed down and all the easy wins are kind of dying, like there's not many left. Done the cardio, you've built some muscle, and it's just, you're starting to grind to a plateau. And that's where we go into stage 2, where there's going to be a lot more changes with what we are happy with. Some things we're going to have to take out, some things we're not, but we're going to have to work on those things. In terms of supplement, there's a lot of things that will make promises that they really shouldn't. So basically, no supplements work other than other than Ozempic and semaglutides. Some of them will work, but like they're so small that they're basically scams. I would ignore all of them other than those. With those things, they are good. They have risks associated with them, but there's a bigger risk by just being the weight you are if you're fatter, unfortunately. But they don't teach you good habits. They force good habits on you by you eating less, but you don't learn good habits by doing so. So I still recommend basically everything I've said if you're approaching things from adding in a semaglutide. Anyway, I think I've overloaded you with information. Sponsor me, G Fuel, please. And I hope to see you next time. Okay. Alright. See ya. Chances are there's going to be meals through your week or through your day that you're having that you don't really care about without realizing you don't really care about it. So for instance, in the UK, you can get these meal deals for cheap money, or they used to be quite cheap, that are a sandwich, a snack, a drink, all together for a relatively cheap price. And altogether, chances are you could easily get 600 to 800 calories out of that. But the meal is just not that good. If you like your food, then eat food you like. It'll keep you happier throughout, and chances are you can get some that are lower calories. That leads me on to your next thing. There's a connection between your brain and your stomach. The more you know you're eating, the quicker you'll feel full. If you're watching a movie and you're eating, and you're just grazing on popcorn, you're grazing on chips, you're grazing on Doritos, then you can eat a lot of it. While that's good and that's fun, if you're not even paying attention, then what's the fucking point? If you're going to do that, at least do it with some super low calorie version, right? And that leads me onto another thing. When you're eating something like loaded fries, super high calories, that's fine, who cares? But you'll get to a point where it's just the fries left. And at that point, it's not the part you like, it's not the part you care about. So at that point, maybe try and like find a stopping point where you're like, yeah, all the fun part's gone, so I just don't really care about the rest of this. That's one thing I will say. It was when I went to a restaurant with my sister as a bigger person. It was the first time in my life I realized you halfway through a meal, stop having the need to eat. They feel full, they feel satisfied. I don't have that bone in my fucking body. So trust me when I say these tips are built for someone who has to be more conscious about what they're eating than perhaps other people.